Yes, people, yes, people, yes, people. Welcome back to the We Talk Football podcast. Now, just a quick message before we jump into the video. Only 55% of you who are watching this video are currently subscribed to this channel. Now, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, you'd be doing us a massive favor. We're up to 72 subscribers and we've gone through our period of biggest growth, but we appreciate any support you can give us. So as I said, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and without further ado, we'll jump in. Yes, people, yes, people, yes, people. Welcome back to the We Talk Football podcast. Now, it's a Wednesday. What does that mean? It means we're building up one of the biggest games in years for Chelsea. We see the pragmatic defensive style of Tuchel holding on to a slender advantage of a 1-1 draw that he picked up last week. We see Zinedine Zidane bring his Galacticos. He's got the return of Ramos, the return of Marcelo, the return of Valverde to his squads. It's the return of Eden Hazard, the return of Courtois to the bridge. Will Chelsea have enough? Will they hold on to this slender advantage? What do we think, boys?
I don't know. I want to back it, and I do feel comfortable. It's just Real Madrid, isn't it? And that's all the talk has been all week. It's Real Madrid, Real Madrid. They do just come with that, like you say, Galacticos. They've got the royal seal of approval. They just are. You know, if there's any team in the world, as Max Kellerman says, fate the universe on the line, death beam pointing at Earth, you probably want Real Madrid playing it for you. And yeah, it's just that clutch gene they've got. You saw it with Karim Benzema last week, like baller's goal. And yeah, we're just going to have to contain and deal with that. Amazing to see Kai Havertz performing at the weekend, and hopefully I can see him potentially getting a start, maybe. But then again, Timo Werner's pace in terms of pressing and whatnot is going to be so vital. But we just watched him miss a sitter, and I'm just starting to feel a lot more nervous than I was at the end of last week.
Yeah, well, what do you think, Quakes?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. This is probably the most nervous I've been for a Chelsea game this season. I've been very confident going to big Chelsea games, especially under Tuchel. We've not really given the opposition a sniff, especially in the big games. But this one's a bit different. It's the biggest game for Chelsea since 2014. Atletico Madrid's Champions League semi-final, second leg. So yeah, this is huge for Chelsea. I do think that on the balance of play this season, in terms of if you look at both teams when it comes to form, when it comes to just the overall package in terms of squad depth, I think Chelsea should go into this game favourites, especially as we're playing the second leg at home. But you just never know. Real Madrid, they're the best situational football team in the world, even to this day, without Ronaldo and without Gareth Bale. Because if you look at Sergio Ramos, who returns to the side, he's the best situational centre-back in the world. He might not necessarily be the best defender in the world, but how many times we've seen Sergio Ramos come up with big goals in big games. And then you've got Karim Benzema, who's just a level above any striker that we've got at Chelsea. He's world-class, and you give him half a chance and he's going to score a goal. And then you've got the added factor of Eden Hazard being back in familiar surroundings at Stamford Bridge. Not necessarily saying he's going to start this game, but you can just you can see it. You can see Eden Hazard.
It's written in the stars. It's written in the stars.
Yeah. And then posted on Insta him just like taking shots from the edge of the D. And then obviously you can see the blue of the bridge in the background. I was like, oh god.
Yeah. And then I think the main factor for Real Madrid is Ferland Mendy being back to full fitness, because he's an absolute weapon. I was reading an article by The Athletic about him, like describing him or comparing him to a bullet. He's absolutely rapid. And I know that in the last game against Real Madrid, we started Azpilicueta as a right wing back. If Mendy's fit, I don't know if we could do that.
It's going to have to be Reece.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very, very tough game. Obviously, Varane being injured is huge.
Yeah.
And also,
massive.
Ramos hasn't played football, hasn't started a game in I think 50 days. Like obviously, like you said, it's Sergio Ramos. He can just turn up and come clutch, but they looked leggy last week, and we've got youth and energy and abundance, and we're going to hold the ball a lot and move them a lot. And I'm hoping come 60th, 70th minute, if we've nicked a goal, you could start to see potentially some of that petulance that you saw from PSG last night. And the game could turn in our favour.
I think you're totally right. I think it's a game that can go either way, and I think that this is the beauty of football. Obviously, Chelsea come into this game after a decent away win last week, a solid win on the weekend where Havertz scores 2. Obviously, Havertz didn't play last week. Does this, drawing on what you said, Louis, does this mean Havertz has to start?
I don't necessarily know, because every time Tuchel's asked about Timo Werner, and obviously there's a lot of talk about Timo Werner, who is kind of quietly going about and having an average to good season. It's middling. It's not what we expected, but it's not as terrible as everyone's making out. There's been glaring misses, which is the killer.
And if you had 5 more goals, I think it would be more justifiable, But his goal outlay isn't good enough.
He just does so much in the press, though, and I think the boys are a lot more comfortable with Timo leading the press. So it's so dependent on that. And also, I know Havertz is quick, but I mean, Timo Werner got legs for days. It could be a very much counter-attacking game. So we just have to go and give him his due and give him his chance again, which is going to be painful. And I hope Thibaut Courtois doesn't have a bloody worldie.
Well, you guys come into this game, obviously. I think the only person you haven't got available is Kovacic. I think Rudiger's going to play, can play with a face mask. So who do you start? Quakes, go on. What's your predicted lineup? I know we always do this, and it could be completely different, but
it's impossible to judge it with Tuchel because he does switch it up. I think the one prevalent thing that we've seen in recent weeks, which I think is a great thing, is Thiago Silva playing next to Andreas Christensen. And I've mentioned this before, but it's like when you play Football Manager and you bring in an experienced player to tutor the young player who's in a similar mold to himself, and you see the stats go up. And I think we've seen that with Andreas Christensen in terms of performances this season. And I think the Chelsea fans couldn't possibly foresee a world where Christensen and Thiago Silva play together in the back three, because they're both used to playing down the middle. But they've been playing excellently together. So I expect to see both of them start for Chelsea in the back three. And then if Rudiger is fit, with the face mask, obviously he's compromised, but I would start Rudiger as well, which begs the question, where's Azpilicueta fit in? Because we've always said that on the right-hand side, if Ferland Mendy's playing, then Azpilicueta is going to get burnt. But then you need Azpilicueta's experience as well. So it's going to be so interesting to see that. But I think back three, Rudiger, Christensen and Thiago Silva. I don't know if Louis agrees with that.
You are probably wrong. Potentially, Aspi comes in, but I think you're probably spot on with that. It really depends on which.
You've only got to look at the West Ham game. I know, obviously, it was the worst game of football that when we played each other. It was the worst game of football any of us have probably ever seen. But yeah, Azpilicueta was getting torn up by Ryan Fredericks, and that's from a footballing side that are far below Real Madrid. Ferland Mendy will put him on his backside for 90 minutes. Yeah, amazing experience, but you can't put him at wing back. You can't. You will get exposed, especially with the wingers they've got as well. Like Vinicius Junior, like he will tear him apart.
Yeah, but he did. I know, obviously, Mendy's different from Marcelo, but Marcelo is a baller, and he hasn't got the legs that he used to. But arguably, should have pinned us back last week and didn't. I suppose it's more about, what positions Aspi picks up, those little infield passes, the crosses, whereas Reece James is very much a case of, we're going to match Mendy effectively, pace for pace, and then push on and try and get in behind. And I don't think we're going to be doing that. So there is a shout that Aspi starts, but it just doesn't seem solid.
I agree with you, man. Like, I would personally, in terms of if you're using our FIFA or Football Manager brain, you'd be like, oh, you've got to stick Reece James there. But in terms of what I think Tuchel will actually go with, I think he'll go with Aspi. Just because, like you say, it's the positions that he will take up. I don't think it's necessarily going to be that marauding. Yeah, he's not going to be getting. I don't think he'll get exposed. He won't leave space in behind because he knows his limitations. So I think, so I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Aspi, but I would go with Reece James personally. I think the midfield duo picks itself if Kovacic is injured. It's going to be Jorginho and Kante. We heard Tuchel speak in glowing terms about N'Golo Kante, and a team that wants to win trophies has to have a player like N'Golo Kante. So
and he was amazing last week.
He was incredible. He was everywhere. And then on the left-hand side, I think both in agreement, it's going to be Ben Chilwell.
Yeah, of course. Special shout out to Ben Chilwell. I mean, when Tuchel first came in, there was a bit of a rocky period for him, I guess. He went with the sort of comfort and the confidence of Marcos Alonso, played left wing back for quite a while, but it seems like Chile sort of made that his now, which is nice to see. Arguably, of all of our signings, apart from potentially Mendy, he's been the standout of the summer.
Yeah, I think Chilwell's been a great signing for you. I've said that all year. I'm a terrible fantasy league player, but he's pretty much the only the bright spark in my squad all year, where he's just provided me with some points. So Chilwell's a Donny. You were talking about Chilwell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. You said Chilly. You said Chilly, and I was like, oh, is there a Chelsea nickname I don't know about here?
Yeah, Ben. And then the front three is where like there are so many questions to be asked. Mason Mount always starts.
Mason's Timo.
You going with Timo?
We might play Pulisic though.
I know.
You really want to go with Timo again in the biggest game in years? Like,
Not like I want to, Jamie. We have to.
Yeah.
Mate, what about Tammy? What about Olivier? What about Kai? I'm bringing out first names for you guys.
I feel like Olivier Giroud and Tammy Abraham are not going to start. That's one thing I can almost guarantee.
I'm joking.
Take your pick of Pulisic, Havertz, Ziyech, and Timo Werner. I've this last week I've kind of sat back and I've been completely honest with myself. I was like, if Timo Werner played for a team that wasn't Chelsea, I would be ripping into him. If he was doing what he had done for Chelsea, for Liverpool, I'll be like, he is the biggest flop of the summer. So really, truly, there's some realism here. We can all try and redefine it and say he's an inside forward, he's a winger, he's a false nine. We brought a goal scorer, he's not scoring goals.
Wait. I think in our first ever episodes, me and you were describing him like, oh, he's a gunman.
He's a gunman.
He's 6 goals in 32 games.
Yeah, it's a bit peak.
It is.
7 assists in the Premier League. Come on.
But what Lou was saying is that he is so integral to how this incarnation of Chelsea play. Like, I think next season, his lack of goals, his lack of clinical, like his lack of finishing edge or clinical edge, or is that clinical edge?
Yeah,
whatever it is.
He needs to get better.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He needs to get better. That's next season won't run, but for this season, in terms of how we play and how we need to stretch the opposition, I think he's probably going to start.
And I think Timo Werner's obviously a good player, good team player, and like supposedly from everything we've seen before he fucking turned up, he is a gun man, just not right now and not in the Prem. It's like I've given his due. I'll give him next season, but like if we get another showing in terms of these numbers.
I want to agree with you. I do want to agree with you, but he's only shown that in the Bundesliga, and there's so many players in the history of the game that have come over from the Bundesliga and haven't performed. Like, just because he's balled out for the German national team and the Bundesliga doesn't mean he's going to come over and score goals. Like, and he's not doing enough now.
I think our biggest issue though with Timo Werner is that how did all the scouts in world football get it so wrong? And all football fans, there was nobody coming saying that, oh, Timo Werner is not clinical. There was people can try and say it now. It's like, oh, when watching in Bundesliga, you need a lot of chances. Everybody in world football, all articles, all journalists, all pundits, all fans, like, he's going to score fuckloads of goals. So how did everybody get so wrong?
Mate,
how
I'm
did
telling you what.
Get so wrong? Jurgen Klopp won.
Mate, everyone's playing FIFA. The Chelsea scouting team are playing FIFA because he's a gun man on FIFA. You get him on Ultimate Team after a few informs, mate. He's bagging goals. He's fast. He's like, he has all the attributes to be a good Premier League striker, but he's just not performing now. And if it's that, like you guys said, if we're at this point next year and he hasn't performed again, there's exit doors straight away. After you've sold Tammy to us.
Before we move on to it, Louis, what was your front three be then?
God, I said Ziyech initially, but he'll probably Pulisic is on form, so he's got to play. And you kind of need the pace of Timo and Pulisic together, and obviously Mason Mount. You know, future England captain, young baller, my guy.
I think you start with Kai Havertz. I'll be honest. I think No, as much as I don't even dislike Timo Werner. I think he has the ability to do it. I think he when you watch Timo Werner play in the limited games that I've seen Chelsea play this year,
he doesn't pass the eye test.
It's not even that he doesn't pass the eye test. He does all the right things, but maybe when you should unload a shot, he's always looking for the pass and things like that. So you can tell he's probably low on confidence. But after the weekend showing from Havertz and the link-up play between him and Mason Mount, I think. Put that in front of a Real Madrid backline, I think you're going to cause problems.
I do agree to a degree.
That's the one thing that I will say as well, is because Timo Werner cost what he cost, but he had a release clause. We went out there and we not outbid, but we kind of put in the pitch to Kai Havertz to bring him into Chelsea. This is the first semi-final since 2014. So in 7 years, Kai Havertz, who's this generational talent, who has scored 2 goals on the weekend, if he doesn't start this game, do you know what I mean? He kind of has to. He kind of has to. Like he's scored 2 goals on the weekend. He's in decent form. He's this generational talent. Like in the Champions League semi-final, second leg against Real Madrid, like he kind of has to
That was
start.
business.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, guys. Speaking of generational talents,
Lionel Foden,
mate, Phil Foden last night, and the absence of Kylian Mbappe, 2 generational talents that could have changed the game for their team's favour. What did you guys think of the game last night?
I mean, it was a bit scary. They look very. I mean, I was saying in the group chat yesterday, the most like this Champions League performance from Pep Guardiola is like the most pep thing in the world. Aside from the fact that everyone pulled me up on, they've spent loads and loads of money, so it's just like ridiculous squad depth. But they've got to a Champions League final without a recognised striker, essentially, which is, I can't think of anything more Pep Guardiola than that. So many ballers last night. Ruben Diaz. Everyone shouts about Ruben Diaz. And again, similar to what you mentioned with Thiago Silva and Christensen, Quakes, Ruben Diaz has just, I don't know if there's a lot of talk about John Stones getting his confidence back, personal life sort of all in order at the moment. He is balling. Like, John Stones, arguably one of the first names on the team sheet for the Euros for England. Zinchenko, I didn't realise he was as young as he was.
He killed it.
Everyone on that pitch. And then Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne and Mahrez, all of them, man.
Yeah. Riyad Mahrez, honourable shout out to Riyad Mahrez, because the whole thing is so Pep Guardiola, because like I'm looking at a player like Ferran Torres, for example, who people probably haven't recognised as having a great first season, but I'm imagining seeing Ferran Torres in like a season or two being like one of the best wingers in the league. It's so Pep Guardiola to like the way he integrates players into the team, the way that fans were calling for Phil Foden to be starting every game for Man City, and Pep was like, no, wait, like he is the natural successor of David Silva. We're going to blood him in slowly. And now you just see Phil Foden ball. It's like he's in the perfect situation. It's almost like, if you use the basketball analogy, Steph Curry and Steve Kerr coming in to coach Steph Curry. It's like when those two things come together, you get one of the greatest players of all time.
And on that note, there was so much talk for ages, like, oh, Pep Guardiola doesn't trust you. Phil Foden's not going to be what he should be, like effectively questioning Pep's process with it. He, as I was saying earlier, just for me, put himself on the level with Haaland and Mbappe last night. He's never going to get the numbers, but oh my God, watching that kid play football.
He's also got that, almost whenever you watch him play now, he has that synonymous pirouette type turn that he just pulls off all the time. He does that. That's not a one-off. I've seen that too many times.
It's like a special move, and like I was saying it when I was in the office watching the game. It's like he's just got that on lock on the turn. He just like swims around, and also he travels the ball so brilliantly. And you see a lot of times with players, namely players like Raheem Sterling, who he's keeping outside right now, who travel the ball excellently. But when it comes to that final pass, they haven't got it. Phil Foden's final pass is always there, every single time. It's a joke. He's a joke.
On the Raheem Sterling mention, I mean, we've been having quite a few conversations about it over the past couple of weeks. But he's not starting at the Euros for me. He shouldn't at all.
Who do you start? Who do you start as your front three then?
Harry Kane every day. Lionel Foden on the left.
Marcus Rashford?
Not really. He's in and out, injured. You know, he's not.
Who then?
Maybe Jadon Sancho. Maybe Jack Grealish.
He hasn't been in the same level of form. Jack Grealish hasn't played. He's injured.
This is the issue. It's like Harry Kane is in form. Phil Foden's in form. None of the other boys are.
Mason Mount's in form.
Do you play him as a midfielder, or do you play him in the? You play
him in the same role that you play him at Chelsea. He's almost got the free role. Picks up positions out wide.
That's the Chelsea fan trying to get Mason Mount in, knowing that Phil Foden's balling out right now.
Mason Mount has to start. Mason Mount will start for England, for sure. Mason Mount will start for England.
I think Foden and Mount both have to play, but like...
Yeah. It's where you fit them in. Sorry, you cut out.
I said, how do you make it work? That's all he's got to find out. And you can make Mason Mount and Phil Foden work together. They're ballers.
Put him in front of Declan Rice, mate. Anything can happen.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I know.
No, it's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, on last night it was it was scary to see Man City, because I was in the camp of I want Chelsea to play PSG if we do make it to the final. But I think again you saw the petulance of a Poch-led side. This happened at the Battle of the Bridge. You see that when things start to go wrong for a Poch side, that because he's such an emotional manager, that I think the team kind of embrace his kind of emotion, and you see it spill out on the pitch when things go wrong. I literally called it in the second half. So they're going to get man sent off. Of course they are, because it's PSG and it's a Poch-led side.
They did it last week.
Yeah.
I respect you sort of like, you know, putting it to Poch, because obviously Tottenham used to lose their heads. But I think the Battle of the Bridge it's a massive rivalry. Tottenham were watching the Premier League slip away from them to a team that arguably they knew they were better than that year, because we were awful. Let's be honest. Yeah. And I mean, who's King Petulance? Neymar Jr. Like, he's the leader of the team. They all have it in them. I was streaming it last night. So was watching the CBS commentary, and I can't remember the commentator's name, but he described Angel Di Maria's reaction as Latino, and then had to come out with a big apology. It's like, I hope no one's taking offense. And I was like, well, yeah, of course. This is like this weird antiquated view of sort of South American players having a slightly more, let's say, theatrical approach to playing football. And I don't even know if it's necessarily the theatrics of it. It is just that hot-bloodedness. And you know, maybe that does tie in with, you know, Mauricio Pochettino, how he approaches the game, how he always has done. You know, we can sort of harken back to, you know, the Argentinian teams with him and Simeone and etc. Yeah, hot-blooded passion, etc. And they are very good at. We call them the dark arts, but it's essentially just part of the fabric of the game.
That's true. And I suppose the one thing that we do know is that the Champions League very much now seems to be Man City's to lose after the performances they've put in. I think they've conceded 4 goals in the entirety of this campaign, which is just outrageous. So whoever does win tonight has got it up against them, you know. But it could be it could be, you know, David versus Goliath again. With, you know, Chelsea did it against Bayern Munich all those years ago. They don't have Didier Drogba now, but they do have Timo Werner. They got Timo Werner, who's not scoring goals.
I think that's the way Chelsea would like it. Chelsea would like to be underdogs in this game, but obviously with a striker that could probably score goals. So it's going to be a tough one. I'm predicting Chelsea winning this game, but like against my better judgment, because I am very, very, very nervous about this game. Not confident at all. I'm going to predict a 1-0 Chelsea win, but that's just me sticking to my football tribalism. I'm not actually confident about that at all.
Yeah, similar to that. I would say 1-0 because it's Chelsea, and that is just kind of where we've been at for a while. But I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea.
I'm going 2-1 Real Madrid in extra time. It's going to be a 1-1 draw at full time, and I think Real Madrid are going to sneak it in the last extra time. I'm not just saying that because I don't want Chelsea to win, but yeah, I just think I've just got a feeling about Real Madrid tonight.
Yeah, if I'm being absolutely completely honest, that scoreline that you've gone with, I can literally just see that. I can just see that. It's killing me. It's killing me.
Give me a nervous one.
But anyway, guys, we'll be back in a few days with more videos. Where can they find us in the meantime, Quakes?
So you can find us on Instagram at We Talk Football Podcast, on Twitter at WTF Podcast 90. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the We Talk Football Podcast. We are gradually growing. Obviously, over the weekend we adhered to the media blackout, so we didn't really post anything. But we're back with more regular videos this week. Make sure you like us, or make sure you follow us on Spotify at We Talk Football Podcast, on Apple Podcasts as well. And we'll be back with more videos very, very soon.
Buzzing. Cheers, guys. See you later. Cheers.